Hi everyone, welcome to Living Wisdom, a little corner of the internet where we pause, reflect, and explore life's big questions together. I'm Alex, or you can just call me your guide for this journey. And I'm so glad you're here. In this first video, I want to dive into something we all wonder about at some point. What makes life worth living? It's a question that's followed me through quiet mornings, busy days, and even some sleepless nights. Today, I'll share a simple story that shifted how I see the world. A story about 3 workers and a wall. It's not grand or complicated, but it stuck with me, and I think it might resonate with you too. So, let's take a deep breath, settle in, and get started. Once upon a time, in a dusty corner of a growing town, there were 3 workers building a wall. Their hands were rough, their tools were simple, and the sun beat down on them day after day. One afternoon, a curious traveler wandered by and stopped to watch. He approached the first worker, who was hunched over a pile of bricks, sweat dripping from his brow. "What are you doing?" the traveler asked. The worker barely looked up, his voice sharp with frustration. "What does it look like? I'm just building a wall." Day in, day out, same old thing. The traveler nodded and moved on. Then he came to the second worker, who was whistling softly as he smoothed mortar over the bricks. "What are you doing?" the traveler asked again. This time, the worker paused, wiped his hands on his apron, and smiled. "We're constructing a tall building," he said, pointing to the blueprints pinned nearby. "It's going to be something sturdy, something useful." The traveler smiled back and kept walking. Finally, he reached the third worker. This one was different. There was a quiet intensity about him, a spark in his eyes as he placed each brick with care. "What are you doing?" the traveler asked once more. The third worker straightened up, looked out over the horizon, and said, "We're creating a new city." His voice was steady, almost dreamy. "This wall is just the start. One day there'll be homes, streets, people living and laughing here. We're building something that'll last." The traveler stood there for a moment, struck by the words, then walked away, deep in thought. Years passed, as they do. The traveler returned to that same town, now transformed, and he sought out those 3 workers. The first was still there, laying bricks in the same spot, his face etched with the same tired lines. Life hadn't changed much for him. It was still just a wall, just a job. The second had moved up in the world. He'd become an engineer, sketching designs for buildings that dotted the skyline. He'd found pride in his work, a sense of purpose, and the third, he was standing at the heart of it all. The leader of a thriving city, his vision now a reality, of bustling streets and glowing lights. So what made the difference? They all held the same tools, stacked the same bricks, faced the same heat and dust. But each one saw something different in that wall. The first saw a chore, a monotonous task stretching endlessly before him. His world stayed small because that's all he let himself see. The second saw a building, something bigger than himself, a piece of a larger puzzle. That vision carried him forward. And the third, he saw a city, a dream so vast. It gave every sweaty day a purpose. His hands built a wall, but his mind built a legacy. That story got me thinking about my own life. And maybe it'll do the same for you. What do I see when I wake up each morning? Am I just stacking bricks, getting through tasks, checking boxes, waiting for the day to end? Or am I building something more? It's not always about what's in front of us. The job, the routine, the struggles. It's about what we choose to see in it. A tough moment can be just a wall. Or it can be the foundation of something greater. A quiet coffee in the morning can be a fleeting break. Or it can be a chance to feel alive, to notice the world waking up around you. I think that's what makes life worth living: perspective. It's not always the big wins or the perfect days. It's how we frame the small ones. A positive mind can turn a rainy afternoon into a cozy memory, or a hard week into a story of resilience. The three workers taught me that meaning isn't handed to us. We create it. And maybe that's the quiet magic of being human. We get to decide what our walls will become. So, what about you? What makes your life worth living? Maybe it's something grand, a dream you're chasing, a person you love. Or maybe it's smaller, the way the light hits your room in the morning. A kind word from a stranger. Or just making it through a day that tested you. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop them in the comments below. Let's start this conversation together. If this kind of reflection speaks to you, stick around. Subscribe to Living Wisdom. This channel is about exploring ideas like these, asking the questions that matter, and finding a little more light in the everyday. I'm excited to share this journey with you, one story at a time. Thanks for watching. And here's a thought to carry with you. Life isn't about what you see, but how you see it. Take a moment today to look again. You might be surprised what you find. See you next time.